At number 10, we have Pau Gasol. Pau Gasol is one of the greatest international players of all time, with elite playmaking skills, supreme touch at the rim, along with a large arsenal of post moves, a consistent mid-range jumper, and even a 3-ball later in his career. Pau was one of the most skilled big men ever. At his peak, Gasol was an incredible talent and was the second best player on the back-to-back championship Lakers teams, showing up big in the biggest moments and being a key leader for their success. At number 9, we have Kevin McHale. Kevin McHale was known as one of the greatest post players of all time. Guarding him was known as being stuck in the torture chamber, as his endless array of moves and perfect footwork made it impossible to stop him whenever he got on the low post. Along with his unstoppable scoring ability, he also used his size and length to play defense at an elite level, making 6 all-defensive teams throughout his career. McHale spent his first few seasons on the bench, where he dominated, winning 2 Sixth Man of the Year awards. Throughout the 80s, he was also the second best player on the Celtics dynasty and had big performances in the biggest moments, winning 3 championships as an integral piece to his teams. At number 8, we have Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is currently still playing in the league, but he's definitely done enough already to earn a spot on this list. As a talent, AD has one of the highest peaks ever, being one of the greatest defensive players of all time with his ridiculous length, while being completely dominant offensively with his combination of size, dribbling, and mobility. He's made tons of All-Star and All-NBA teams, but his greatest accomplishment came in 2020, where he put up 28 points, 10 rebounds, and 4 assists per game in the playoffs while helping lead the Lakers to the championship. If, and this is a massive if, he stays healthy, he can definitely continue climbing our rankings. Now before we move on with the list, if you're enjoying the video so far, please make sure to give us a like and subscribe for more great NBA content. Now continuing on with our rankings, at number 7 we have Bob Petit. Bob Petit was the NBA's first ever MVP and a pioneer in many ways. He was one of the earliest high volume scorers in league history, becoming the first player to ever reach 20,000 career points. He was also one of the all-time great rebounders, averaging over 16 for his entire career. Throughout his time in the NBA, he put up an insane list of accolades, including 11 All-Star teams, 11 All-NBA teams, 2 scoring titles, 2 MVPs, and the 1958 championship, where he put up a ridiculous 50 points and 25 rebounds in the closeout game. At number 6, we have Karl Malone. Karl Malone combined a high level of consistency and longevity to rack up a ton of accomplishments throughout his career, including 14 All-Star teams, 14 All-NBA teams, 4 all-defensive teams, 2 MVPs, and becoming the 3rd all-time leading scorer. Unlike his nickname would suggest though, the mailman didn't always deliver, often coming up short in the playoffs when it mattered the most. At number 5, we have Charles Barkley. These days, Barkley might be more known for his funny takes and terrible predictions on TV, but don't let that overshadow how great he was as a player. On the court, his talent was very unique. Barkley was a dominant force in the paint and elite on the glass, averaging nearly 12 rebounds per game while being 6'6", which was extremely undersized for a big, especially in his era. He was able to do this because of his incredible strength and explosiveness, which could be best compared to today's someone like Zion Williamson. His peak came in the 1993 season, where he not only won the MVP, but also led his team to the finals and had an all-time performance, putting up 27 points, 13 rebounds, and 6 assists per game while nearly beating the Jordan Bulls. He may not have won that elusive ring, but that shouldn't detract from his legacy or diminish his greatness. At number 4, we have Kevin Garnett. The Big Ticket was one of the first true unicorns in league history. Offensively, he was able to handle the ball, shoot jumpers consistently, and had the ability to play make while being 7 feet tall. Defensively, he was even better and has an argument to be the greatest defender of all time. He had the size to protect the rim at an elite level, but also had the mobility and speed to switch onto the perimeter, making him extremely versatile on that end. For all his defensive talents, he earned 12 all-defensive teams in the 2008 Defensive Player of the Year award. At his peak, KG was one of the greatest talents of all time and legitimately had a case to be the best player in the world. No year was a better example of this than the 2004 season, where he won the MVP, putting up 24 points, 14 rebounds, and 5 assists per game, while also carrying Minnesota to the conference finals in the bloodbath that was the 2000s Western Conference. Unfortunately, for most of his career with the Timberwolves, he was surrounded by a terrible roster and wasn't able to experience much playoff success other than 2004. But when he eventually got traded to Boston, he proved that he could anchor a championship team as he helped lead the Celtics to the championship in 2008 and cemented his legend status. At number 3, we have Dirk Nowitzki. Dirk is one of the most influential stars of all time. He is the best shooting big man ever and came into the league at a time when 7-footers would only operate in the paint. Through his deadly mid-range, fadeaway, and deep-range game, he showed how valuable it is for bigs to be spacing the floor and laid the foundations for the NBA today, where 7-footers are generally expected to be able to shoot and have skills outside of the post. Throughout his prime, Dirk was one of the best players in the world, consistently leading a Mavs team with a subpar roster to top seeds and keeping them in contention, even winning an MVP in 2007. But his greatest accomplishment came in 2011, when he led a Dallas team full of role players on an unexpected postseason run and ended up winning the championship while defeating all of the league's best teams, including the Kobe Pau Lakers, the KD Russ Thunder, and the Big Three Heat in the finals. Considering the competition he faced and the lack of expectations for the roster he had, this, in my opinion, is the greatest championship and accomplishment of all time, and cemented Dirk as one of the all-time greats. At number 2, we have Giannis Antetokounmpo. This placement might be a bit controversial since Giannis hasn't even played 10 seasons yet, and I'm putting him above some all-time greats. But I believe this spot is justified. At only 28 years old, he's already managed to accomplish more than anyone below him on the list. Throughout his 9 full seasons so far in the league, he's made 6 All-Star teams, 6 All-NBA teams, 5 All-Defensive teams, won a Defensive Player of the Year award, 2 MVPs, and his most impressive accolade came in 2021, where he won the championship and finals MVP, putting on one of the all-time great finals performances with averages of 35 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 assists per game, including his closeout Game 6, where he had the greatest championship clinching performance ever, with 50 points and 14 rebounds. The Greek Freak is one of the most dominant forces the NBA has ever seen, and is currently the best player in the league with no signs of slowing down. At the pace he's going at, he very well could end up topping this list when it's all said and done. And at number 1, we have Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan is one of the most underrated greats in NBA history because of his quiet demeanor and lack of flashy moves. He doesn't get talked about as much as he should, and that's a shame because he's one of the greatest players to ever play. Duncan may be the best defender of all time, making a record 15 all-defensive teams throughout his career, showing not only how good he was on that end, but the longevity he possessed to play at that level for so long. Offensively, although scoring wasn't his greatest strength, in his prime he had a borderline elite production with his low post moves and iconic bank shot. Aside from his on-court talent though, what Tim was most known for was his impact on winning. From day one, he helped change the fortune of the Spurs franchise, leading them to the championship in just his second year, and ultimately leading them to 5 championships over the next 20 years and winning 3 finals MVPs along the way, often carrying subpar rosters around him, especially when he was at his peak throughout the early 2000s. Tim Duncan was the heart and soul of the Spurs dynasty and the main reason why they became the winningest team of the 21st century, and that record of winning will always be his ultimate legacy. Subscribe for more great videos and comment down below if you agree with the rankings.